Hey, good afternoon, everyone. A really warm welcome to everyone who's joined today. Before we jump in, and also just to give others a couple of minutes to join, let me quickly run through what to expect from today's session. This presentation is packed with loads of helpful information, but more importantly, it's a strategic approach that will lead to more inquiries and ultimately more new clients for your firm. In a second, I'll show you the agenda so you know what's in store. Also, be sure to stay to the end because I want to share with you how you can find out if you're overspending on your current PPC campaign, or if you're not running one, what a good amount to invest in would be. This will be your chance to get your hands on a personalized Google Ad Spend report. So stay with us. We promise to keep this webinar short and to the point. Okay, so here's the topics. The essential steps to creating a profitable paid search campaign. Let's just move the slide on a couple more times. We'll kick off by talking through Google Ads in more detail and why you definitely shouldn't ignore them. This is something to absolutely consider in your marketing strategy if you're not already doing so. Then we'll be taking a look at choosing the right keywords for your campaign. Thirdly, because knowing your target audience is crucial, we'll be discussing how you can create ads that are written for your ideal client. We'll also cover messaging here. Next, we'll cover what you should be looking for when checking your results. This is about understanding what you're looking at and what it means, and getting the all-important metrics like ROI. And lastly, how much you should be spending on your ads campaign, what your budget should be. Okay, so a quick couple of introductions before we get started. Let me first introduce you to Anna. Anna has over 13 years experience and has spoken at Brighton SEO to spread her knowledge and her expertise to her fellow industry leaders. Abby is our resident PPC expert with 6 years experience, and it's with her knowledge in strategic messaging and testing that has brought about some pretty impressive results for our clients. And lastly, my name is Ian, and I've helped clients work on their wider digital marketing strategy, including social, web, and of course, PPC and SEO. If you have any questions throughout, just drop the questions into the Q&A box. You'll see that in the Zoom interface, and we'll address them at the end. Don't worry, it won't interrupt the talk in any way, and will just come through to us. And lastly, listed here on the screen are a handful of firms and companies that we're currently working with. And it's really through that experience that helped us put the content for the session together. It's not just research, but direct experience working for firms in the legal industry that we hope you'll find valuable. Okay, that's it, let's go. A little bit of background, you know everything about us. I'm going to ask Anna to kick us off.
Thanks, Ian. So I want to start off with a few questions. So to get started, do you find it quite difficult to grow qualified website traffic from search engines? And do you get enough visitors to your website? Or do you find that you only appear in search engines for the name of your firm, but not for your services? So you only really get those people who already know you, know the name of your firm, visiting your website. Well, let me tell you, it's not you, it's quite common. Search engine results for the law sector are extremely competitive. So if you want to rank there in what's called the organic results, then that is really a mountain to climb. It's really not easy at all. In fact, Abby's got a few examples to show that.
Thank you. So the first term we have here is solicitors near me. So this term gets around 60,500 searches per month. So you can already see the demand here is huge. And then when we have a look at how that is on the results page, we can see, well, those organic results are really far down. So instead, first up, we have those top set of ads. Then that's usually followed by the map of results and that people also ask box, which has the related questions to your search term. And then finally, we see those organic results. And then you'll see even below that, there's more ads as well. And then if we take another example to see how that compares, this time we have medical negligence solicitors, so something a little bit more specific than our first term. And as a result, that gets fewer searches. So that has around 3,600 searches per month. So it is fewer, like I said, but it's still a significant number. And it shows that there is plenty of competition to appear for these kind of terms organically.
Yeah, thanks, Abby. So you can see that really is a pay-to-play kind of space. It's not easy to appear here because, in short, ranking in the top 3 is hard and the competition is extremely tough. SEO will take time and a lot of content, and the organic search results aren't even that visible on the search result pages. So it's not surprising that many law firms struggle to gain qualified traffic to their website from search engines, but there is something that can be done, and that's why we're here today. So that's a good start. It's running a search ads campaign. So basically you pay to appear right at the top in Google search ads, search results, above all of the other organic results. But as you can imagine, in this competitive space, ads won't be cheap or easy. So we've put together a few tips and tricks on how to run a successful paid search ads campaign. Let's start. Firstly, choose relevant but low-cost keywords. So make sure you identify the keywords that have sufficient search volume but aren't overly expensive. Now, what are keywords? Basically, keywords are the search terms that people use to find what they're looking for in Google. And companies can bid on those keywords to appear in the ads results at the top of Google above the organic results. The cost of these depends on a huge range of factors, but ultimately depends on how competitive the term is, as in how many other companies are willing to bid on it and how much they're willing to spend. So let's look at an example. Medical Negligence Solicitors London has a monthly search volume of 260 and a cost per click of £16.68 on average. Whereas Clinical Negligence Solicitors London has a slightly lower volume of 170 per month, but only costs £9.60 per click. So that's 42% less. This is why it's hugely important to do your keyword research before you start your ads campaign, because keywords that you select will have a huge impact on the cost and the result of your campaign. You should also take note of the different types of keyword matches that will affect your campaign. It will affect cost and performance. So there are 3 different match types. Broad match, which will give you the maximum reach, but fairly minimum relevance. Phrase match, which is kind of like the medium reach, medium relevance, and then exact match, which has a minimum reach but a maximum relevance. You use the speech marks for phrase match and brackets for exact match. And here's an example of how that would look like. So if you, for example, searched for divorce solicitors, broad match would reply your ads for searches like find a solicitor near me, cost of divorce London, or even things like solicitor jobs. So you can see it's really broad. Whereas a phrase match would show for best divorce solicitors and divorce lawyers, or divorce solicitors fixed fee. So it's more specific, but still gets some keywords in there that you haven't included in your actual phrase. Whereas exact match is very specific. So it only shows for things like divorce solicitors and solicitors for divorce. And now, which keyword match type should you use? Now, as long as you have a good search volume for your keywords, phrase match and exact match are the best ones to use because they're just going to bring you more relevant searches. But they could be specific, they could be quite niche. But they will avoid you appearing for searches that are just not relevant to you and waste your budget. But if you're not 100% sure which phrases would work best for you, or you want to cast a bit of a wider net with your campaign, then you can use broad match. It's just very important that you don't forget to add your negative keywords to avoid wasting your budget on irrelevant terms like jobs, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's talk a little bit about CPC, cost per click. The average cost per click in the law sector is £4.83. That's the highest cost per click of all sectors. In some areas, within law, that can even get much more expensive than that too, like we've just seen. Personal injury often has the highest cost per click, as we saw earlier, and that's could go up to about £50 per click even. And now finance from sector's perspective is second, and the lowest is dining. Now, why is that? Why is the law sector the most expensive, for example? Well, it's really, if you're thinking about it, it comes down to the return on investment that you can expect. So what you might be willing to spend on a potential client is very different from what a Deliveroo might pay for your next takeaway. So yeah, that's why it's so expensive. Oh, going backwards. Sorry about that. Abby, over to you.
So our second tip is on how to write high-performing clickable ads. After all, these are what the searchers will see first. So what we want to do is make sure they're well written and display just how your firm is the right one to help them with their problems. So to get more relevant clicks on your ads, you want to make sure that you're writing them to directly answer your client's needs. So a few ways of doing that is to, well, most importantly really, is to include your keywords in your headline, as this will ensure that the ads that you write are relevant to your user's search. You want to be able to share why they should choose you and reasons why you're better than your competitors. You also want to use your ad copy to address their pain points, and more importantly, you want to use that space to let them know how you can solve them. Other things you can do is, well, you want to make it really easy for your potential clients to get in touch with you. So you can do that with Google Ads through adding a phone number, whether that's through a call extension or through a call only ad. And best practice is to write at least 3 ads per ad group. So doing this gives Google plenty of content to test out, and you can use that to see what types of messaging resonates best with your target audience. And we can quickly have a look at responsive search ads and how they work, as they are now the default ad type in Google. You might have seen them or might be new to you, but these are slightly different from your normal ads because they're where you add up to 15 headlines and up to 4 descriptions. And what Google will do is take those different combinations and show them to searchers in different ways, really. This sounds great in theory because Google's doing all that hard work for you, but they can be easy to get wrong if you're not careful with how you set them up. The most common mistake that I've seen with responsive search ads is when the headlines that get supplied by advertisers and even the descriptions can be really similar to each other. And what that does is can often result in ad copy combinations that don't make the best of that space that's available. So instead, the same message tends to get repeated. So as an example, you could supply 3 separate headlines like family solicitors, family lawyers, best family solicitors, and Google might use them all in one ad. So you're going to get a really repetitive ad rather than something that showcases the reasons why they should pick your firm. So these are good to use, but a word of warning, just make sure that when you're entering your headlines and descriptions that you're including a broad variety of phrases so you can avoid that repetition happening. And if your potential clients are ready to engage, that's where these call-only ads are really a great type to use. So we know in the law sector, potential clients are more likely to want to pick up the phone to discuss their issues than maybe filling out a contact form. So yeah, these are really helpful for that because instead of visiting your website, the searcher is encouraged just to call you then and there. So these are only shown to people who are on mobile, and like the example here, all they have to do is click on that phone number to start that call. So it makes it really easy for them to get in touch and take that next step. And our next tip is on creating those great landing pages to go with those ads. So ideally, you really don't want to send your clients to your homepage or even the sector or services page that you have set up for the service that you want to promote through ads. That's because they're usually really cluttered spaces or a bit distracting because they've been designed for SEO rather than for an ads process. So instead, what you want to do is create a landing page that matches their intention to make a quick inquiry or find out more about that specific service that you're promoting. So to do that, you want to make sure you create a page that gives them all the tools and information they need to make that inquiry, and more importantly, help you improve your conversion rate. So to do that, you want to include things like a easy to fill out contact form. So the fewer fields you have at this stage, the better, really. Just makes it more likely that you'll get them to get in touch. You also want to include reasons why they should work with your firm, so benefits or USPs, that type of thing is really helpful on these kind of pages. You can also include testimonials from previous clients. So if you do have them, add them here. They're great for showcasing that sort of trust factor, as does other forms of social proof like Trustpilot or Legal 500 reviews. And of course, the aim of your ad strategy is to get an inquiry, whether that's going to be a phone call, an email, or a contact form submission for your website. So as Anna did earlier, we can see here how the law sector compares to others when it comes to conversion rates or inquiries. So the average conversion rate in law is 10.08%. So that's the second highest compared to dining and nightlife, which we can see there. And very different from something like the art and entertainment sector, which has a really low conversion rate by comparison of just 2.27%. So what does that mean? Well, while legal ads can be more expensive, and I'm sure we've seen that already, they do have the potential to convert into an inquiry really well. So it's just another reason why it's so important that you have those landing pages and ads that are well structured, well written, and designed to convert.
Thanks, Abby. Our next tip is measure. So measure the success of your campaign closely, and then you can use that data to keep improving your ads, your landing pages, and your overall performance of your campaign. So you need to ask yourself, are you getting the results you'd hoped for? How's your click-through rate comparing to that to others in your auction? How well are your landing pages converting? Are you really getting enough inquiries through? And then use that data to improve your landing pages or your ads. So if there's a problem on your landing page, if there's not enough conversions, improve your landing pages. If not enough people are clicking through, if your click-through rate's low, then focus on your ads. To be able to do that, you just need to connect your Google Ads account to your Google Analytics account and make sure you track things like general page engagement statistics, which could be things like scroll depth, how far people scroll down the page, or the time they spend on the page, as well as those hard KPIs like form submissions or clicks to your phone numbers or clicks to email addresses, because those represent an inquiry, and that's really what we're all here for. That's the goal of your campaign. And let's talk a little bit about budget. So the average daily PPC budget in the law sector is £40. But depending on the keywords you want to target, that kind of spend could only get you about 10 clicks per day or fewer, remembering that the average cost per click in the law sector is £4 or higher. And then based on that average conversion rate Abby just talked about, which is 10%, that could result in only one inquiry. So let's put that into perspective and let's look at a couple of law firms, what keywords they are targeting and how much they might be spending. We can see that Slater & Gordon, for example, are bidding on roughly 169 keywords. Now, there's some really broad keywords there for a wide range of services. So you can see they've got some about will writing, which are fairly cheap, but then they have also some on car crash claims, which are much more expensive. So let's imagine they appeared for all of the keywords they were targeting and gained all of the available clicks. That would mean they could get an additional 17,557 users to their website each month. That would also expect to bring them in 1,755 inquiries per month. So that's based on the average conversion rate of the law sector, as we've just discussed.
And if we look at Irwin Mitchell as another example, so quite similar to Slater & Gordon with the amount of keywords they're bidding on currently. So there's 139 we can see. From these keywords, we can see that they're bidding more specifically on personal injury terms that really much more closely resemble their services. So medical negligence, solicitors, accident at work claim. But we can also see that they are bidding on terms that their potential clients might be asking as well. So things like how to complain about NHS. And again, we can see how much these vary in cost. So we've got anything from £1.35 per click to £20.21 per click in these examples. And I'm sure there's probably many that are higher than that as well. If they did appear for all of these 139 keywords, they could look to attract 8,961 users per month, through their advertising, which could help them bring in potentially 896 new inquiries a month. So we can see through both of these examples that there's a lot of money to be spent for these terms, but there is a lot of potential for them as well. And we just have a few tips for you, quick takeaways before we wrap up. So whether you're reviewing your existing campaigns or looking to start one from today, hopefully these are helpful to you. So our first tip here is to create separate campaigns for each of your services. So if your firm offers a broad range of services, it will make it a lot easier for you to manage your keywords, your ads, and your landing pages. So for example, if you might want to have one campaign that's dedicated to business law, so you could have ad groups inside that for the more specific areas like employment law or business agreements. And then you might want to have a completely separate campaign for family law, so you could have your ad groups in that for the likes of, adoption or prenup or divorce services in there. Our second tip is also to help manage those campaigns effectively. So we suggest aiming for around 5 to 10 keywords per ad group. That might sound really small, I don't know. And it doesn't matter if you have slightly fewer or slightly more than that, but essentially the more focused you can be with your keywords in those ad groups, the better and more relevant your ad copy and landing pages can be. And in turn, that could help you lower your cost per click and ultimately gain more relevant clicks on your ads, because you can be a lot more controlled with the messaging that goes with them. And our third tip is to help you keep your budget on track, really. So yeah, the biggest thing is to, when it comes to budget side things, is to run your ads on Google search only. It can definitely be tempting to run your ads on a display network, and I know that Google always tends to recommend it. But my word of warning is don't waste your budget there, because when it comes to local businesses, the display network can be great at getting all those impressions and eyeballs on your ads, definitely, but it's often responsible for very few conversions, if any at all. So stick to the Google search only.
So here's another recap of what we covered in today's session. So there's quite a lot to consider, obviously, as you can see when running a PPC campaign. But don't worry, we'll be sending all of this information to you later today in an email. So keep your eyes on your inbox.
Brilliant. Thank you, Anna, Abby, for that. If any guys have any questions, anything you'd like to ask Anna or Abby that we've discussed today, you can drop them either of them an email. The email's on the screen now. So if the content was enough, I promise you something more. The big question that we get asked is, how much will it cost to run a PPC campaign? Now, both Anna and Abby have spent some time talking about budgets, but still, there are some maybe unanswered questions specific to your firm. So we have an answer. If you are running a campaign already, what we want to offer you is a way that you can potentially save a lot of money on your current advertising campaign. If you're not, but considering running a campaign, then this will give you a foundation to ensure that you never overspend. So if you're keen to get your ads running effectively, this is going to be invaluable to you. We call it a personalized Google ad spend report, and it's completely free. You can get your hands on one like this. Firstly, just visit our ad spend report page, the link you can see at the bottom of the screen. From there, you'll see a form. That form will ask you to enter a few campaign requirements. This is what you're looking for and what you want to put into, things like the keywords you're considering targeting, the specific sector of law that you're practicing in. We've given you some very high-level averages within the legal sector, but talking more specific within the areas of law, and things begin to change. And also things like the level of traffic you'd like to see, so how many new visitors you'd like a campaign to generate. What we'll do then is we'll send over to you a personalized outline report that will tell you things like what your cost per click will or should be if you currently run one, or should be if you're considering running one, the level of traffic you can expect, and things like the overall cost and how much time it may take to manage the campaign. This isn't done by us by putting your information through any kind of automated tool. It's reviewed by Anna or Abby personally. So if you're running a campaign already, this will help you figure out if Google Ads should be working better. If you're not running a campaign, it'll tell you in black and white what to expect and immediately tell you if PPC will give you a great ROI or not. Well, then we'll email this report directly to you. We can also arrange a call and go through it together and answer any questions. So while Google Ads will cost you some money, this personalized report is free, genuinely valuable because no one likes to overspend on their marketing. The link on the screen again there. You'll get this link plus, as Anna mentioned, a copy of this presentation, but in lovely white paper, readable format, straight to your inbox today, after the session, in fact, so look out for that. Okay, now, before we end the session, we've had a few questions come in and one before the session as well. We've got some time. We're going to finish around 1:30. So we've got about 4 minutes to get through these. Firstly, let me direct this question to Anna. Should I bid on my own brand name? Is it worth bidding on my own company or firm's name in using PPC?
It's a good question and one that we actually get asked quite a lot. And my initial answer would be, don't if you can avoid it. If your brand already ranks well in organic results, you're high up there either in your organic or in the map results, then you really don't necessarily need to bid on your brand name. If your competitors are bidding on your brand name, however, and they appear above you, then it's kind of really forcing your hand and you might need to invest in the bidding on yourself.
It is a bit painful when you Google yourself and you see that a competitor is bidding on your own brand name. You feel it's a bit of an intrusion. Conversely, second question is, should you bid on a competitor's name? Abby, what would you say to that?
Yeah. Same as Anna. No, I mean, it's not as simple as like a yes, no answer. I would always steer clear of those types of tactics if you can, because I don't know, sometimes it can be quite worrying what the retaliation might be from another firm if you're bidding on them, and you don't essentially want to start a bit of a bidding war on terms. You're better off spending your budget on the terms that relate to your services, in my opinion, so keep it there.
I think that's some good advice. I want to know, one of our guys who attended today would like to know where our trade secrets are. How did you get hold of data on other firms?
We have the tools. So yeah, sorry, unless Abby wants to answer this. We've got, as an agency, we use these kind of comparison tools to help our clients really understand the market and what competitors are doing. Not just to say, oh, you know, your competitors are doing this, we should really copy it, but really just to understand what others are doing and how we can be better, how we can improve on what everybody else is doing and how we can fit into the market. So yeah, we've got our little toolbox that helps us do that.
That's crucial. In fact, when we start on any campaign, our onboarding and our discovery session is competitor analysis. Of course, we need to know how well peers and competitors are doing in order to at least benchmark, but it also gives us an idea about what to expect in our own campaign. And lastly, last question, any tips on how you can make a budget go further? Anything else that maybe hasn't been mentioned, or a couple more takeaways? Abby, how can we make a budget go further?
I would definitely say, and we've mentioned these already, but just to reiterate how helpful they are, probably even in relation to some of the questions we've just answered, stick to your important areas, your services, rather than looking at more sort of vanity campaigns of brands or competitors if your budget is slightly tighter. And I would also say, steer clear of the display network where you can and stick to the search network. Yeah, I would also suggest potentially just looking at your campaign structure and making sure that everything is as focused as possible, so that when you're then reviewing your keywords and your ads, everything all makes sense and the keywords that you're bidding on are relevant to the ads that you're showing for them and the landing pages, which if that's all in the case there, then it will help with something called your quality score. And if your quality score is good on your keywords, essentially your ad should cost less to run for every time your keyword is hit. So that was a long-winded answer, but yeah, people basically do what we've just said, and that should help you manage your budget, definitely.
On that note,
I agree. Sorry, I'm often surprised still, although I've been in this industry for many years, how much difference you can achieve by having a really good quality score in your cost per click.
With regards to budget, I mean, it's a good question. Again, let me direct you guys to the Google Ad Spend report on the screen there. We'll find out straight away for your individual firm, you know, what you should be spending, and then you can work out there. We can work out together, of course, what your ROI is likely to be. That concludes today's webinar. I want to thank everyone for coming along, and Anna and Abby as well. Again, any questions, shoot either of them an email. I'd be happy to chat with you and talk all things PPC. Thanks again, everyone, and have a brilliant rest of the day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.